I'm going to call this meeting to order. I want to welcome you to the Board of Directors Hillcrest Business Association meeting. Before we get started, I'm going to start with introductions. I'll start with our table first here with Marissa, if you may.
Marissa Romero, Hillcrest Business Association.
I'm Michael Brennan with Carson Douglas Landscape Architecture.
Sam Kreich, Heat Bar and Kitchen.
Pete Katz, Katz Real Estate.
Tammy Daber, Carlton Management.
Maggie Rowland, M. Rowland Management.
Johnathan Hale with Hale Media. I'm Benjamin Nicholls with the Hillcrest Business Association.
I'm Brett Sorwalt with Obelisk Mercantile.
We'll start right here.
Oh, wait.
Oh, I missed Alfonso. I'm going to sit over there.
Alfonso Chang with Premier League.
I'm Ian Morton with the San Diego Human Dignity Foundation.
Mary Joseph, MFJ Systems.
Julio de Guzman from the City Attorney's Office.
Caitlin Haley, Office of State Senator Marty Block.
Paul Smith with the Borough.
Okay, right up here, Matt.
Matt Wallstrom, Roberts Electric Service.
Brandon Smith, Alpha Project Outreach.
Okay, back row.
Mike Wright, resident.
Okay.
Nancy Morris, past president, Hillcrest Business Association.
Ann Garwood, Hillcrest History Guild.
Adriana Martinez, Office of Councilmember Top Gloria.
Elizabeth Hannon with the Uptown Parking District.
Luke Terpstra, Hillcrest Town Council.
Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. Before we get started, I'd like to see if there are any requests for modifications to our agenda today. Can't add any items to remind you we can delay them. Entertain those now. Okay. If you have any new items that you'd like to bring to our attention, we are a committee-based organization, so feel free to reach out to Ben and he can connect you with the appropriate group for that. We do allow for public comment, 2 minutes per speaker. Is there anyone here that'd like to make public comment today?
We'll present.
Please.
Yeah. I'm Caitlin here from the Office of Senator Marty Block. Just wanted to give you a quick update on some of the legislation that we're doing this year. The end of February was the legislative deadline to introduce new bills, so we're really excited to have our package ready to go. Of course, things do change quite a bit along the line as they go through committees and get heard on the floor, but Senator Block this year is the chair of banking and financial institutions. This is his first year as the chair, so a lot of our bills are related to banking and financial institutions. Just wanted to share about 2 of those today. The first one, SB 488, has to do with public insurance adjusters. This was brought to us by the insurance commissioner, Dave Jones. He kept seeing the same scam over and over that was hitting consumers. Independent insurance adjusters coming to people saying, hey, we can get you money faster than the insurance company can, and then people were getting ripped off. This closes some loopholes in the language of code just to prevent that from happening. The other bill I wanted to talk about, something we've seen a lot in the news, it's called SB 395, and this is a data security breach bill. Much like we've seen with the Home Depot and Target cases where people's financial information what became insecure was shared with nefarious actors. This would require card issuers to inform card holders of a security breach of financial information, not personal contact information, just financial information. It will likely change, specify language as we go, but we do have the initial idea of the bill in, and that would be the issuing statements via websites and by alerting media outlets, so through press releases that there was a security breach. It's one of those hot button bills that we'll see a lot of action on in the coming year, but we're excited to have introduced it and we'll see where it goes. Other than that, that's all I got for you today. Keep it nice and limited down to 2 bills. We've got 26 though, so be prepared for more.
Thank you much. Anyone else for public comment?
Hello.
Hi guys, Adriana with the Office of Councilmember Gloria. I'm going to pass out some newsletters. Some of you have already heard my spiel for the month, but what I do want to talk about that is on the front of this newsletter here that I know will benefit businesses in Hillcrest. If you aren't already familiar, there is the City Storefront Improvement Program. essentially where the city will help finance the design and construction of the facade of your building, so the front of your building. This would apply to small businesses with 12 or fewer employees. So if anyone within the Hillcrest community, whether it be one of your businesses or a business owner that you may know in a different community, if you think that this is something that they might be interested in or will qualify for, please have them contact the city, because this is something that we're doing and we have the resources for. I am interested in also hearing your discussion about your work with the Alpha Project. I know that in the past, we've been able to contribute funds to the Alpha Project to increase homeless outreach in certain parts of the district, especially here in Hillcrest. A couple of years ago, we were able to donate $10,000 in CPPS funding, and we know that or out of turn, we were able to assist, I want to say, almost 1,100 people. I know you have the stats, and we'll probably talk about it later. So I'll keep it brief. If you guys have anything at all that you need from the office, please don't hesitate to call.
Thank you. I had just a quick question.
Sorry.
Just a little thing. I noticed that there was a University Heights banner that was like Normal and Lincoln,
Okay.
which is in Hillcrest.
Okay.
And when I called the University Heights community group, they said that that was part of University Heights. And so I looked in the neighborhood plan and it's not. So I was wondering if you guys might be able to sort of follow up with that, because it seems like Mission Hills is creeping towards us this way. And
the street vendors on the poles?
yeah,
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
Okay, and
They
where
seem
is
a little
that?
off course.
it's at Lincoln and Normal,
Yeah.
right in view of the Hillcrest Farmers Market there, I guess.
Who was it that you spoke with the community?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
Who was it that you spoke with?
The president guy, the Twigs guy. Who was like,
I was on too, I meant to say something.
yeah.
Let's look
If
into
you look
that.
at the neighborhood plan, it's very clear that
Okay.
it's in Hillcrest.
Interesting, okay. Anything else there?
There's another one actually on Park, and I called the city to pick up. It's a huge sign of the construction, but it's been done.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
it's
It's a
the
massive
one that says
sign.
this
That's
project
Park
funded
and
by
Essex.
Transnet money or Sandig money.
Yeah, I called the city a couple times, and they said they were gonna send someone to pick it up. It's been like 3 years.
It actually got picked up and then they brought it back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
At least I can say they picked it up.
You thought you were gonna get out of here without a sign.
So that was at Park and
And
Essex.
Essex. Okay. Okay, cool. I'll follow up on that for you guys.
Thank
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else please?
Okay, thanks, Jonathan. My name is Julio de Guzman from the City Attorney's Office. It seems like every month I'm talking about community courts. Well, just want to tell you the difference between our community court right out of downtown San Diego and the Beach Area Community Court, which Ben Nicholls started 7 or 8 years ago.
It's probably
Beach Area Community Court deals with infractions only, and those are pre-arraignment. So when the people in PB get a infraction ticket from the police, they don't even have to go to arraignment. They just work off their crime, and they never get charged. But this one, the one we're doing now, are misdemeanors only, right out of Superior Court, and it's post-arraignment. So when the police gives them a misdemeanor ticket, they have to show up for arraignment with their defense attorney. Our office shows up and we make an offer. If they work off 16 hours of community work, then we dismiss the ticket, the misdemeanor. That way they don't have a criminal record, and we don't have to clog up the superior courts, and the neighborhoods get cleaned up. So it's a win-win-win situation. Now, one more thing I'd like to mention. Our office is contracted with the Alpha Project and with Urban Corps to supervise these offenders while they work in the community, because we cannot talk to these offenders while they're working unless we go through their defense attorneys. So I know that Ben wants some work done, so he's going to have to talk to Alpha Project and Urban Corps, because we can't make any suggestions. So next month I'll come back with good statistics. 2 Mondays ago we dismissed 4 misdemeanor cases, and so we like it. We'd like more people to accept our program. So
I'd love to
everybody
get a team of
wins.
volunteers to come and help us out in Hillcrest.
See, there you go, there's Alpha Project.
Yes, I have a question. In the beach community court, why is that pre-arraignment and we have to do it post-arraignment and waste your time and go through
Well, it's
that?
not really a waste of our time. Those crimes in Pacific Beach, as Ben knows, they are infractions. They're not as serious as misdemeanors.
Okay,
So, smoking on the beach, drinking on the beach,
right,
jaywalking,
okay.
dogs on,
So
off
we're
the leash.
doing
But
different,
these are more serious crimes downtown, misdemeanors. But we do not take sex offenses, violent crimes, drunk driving, and if they've been through the system 2 or 3 times, we don't take those either.
got it.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Matt?
Yes, since there've been obviously problems with public comment that the board is not aware of, I want to enter this as a formal public comment so we can make it nice and simple. Matt M. Wallstrom provided to the board formal notice, 2 email exchanges detailing repeated violations of 2 breaches of the Hillcrest Bid Management Agreement. It's for each. Most importantly, though, is one of them involves the executive director of this organization committing defamation against our business, specifically in the course of violating Section 4.2.2 of the bid agreement in violation of court order to recognize our membership as co-equal without exception to all others. This board has not been apprised of this, I would imagine, since they are so amused over there. However, this is real liability that this organization is facing, of real economic consequences if it is not addressed. You are being officially notified of this, and it is up to you, as the members of this board, to have a duty of care to take care of this organization and to make yourselves aware of what's happening because of the liability that this organization is and may be incurring.
Thank you. Got something fun to tell us about cleanup? Maybe?
Well, I have some thank yous for the HBA. My name is Luke Terpstra. I'm with the Hillcrest Town Council. This weekend, we're finally coming around to having our Great Hillcrest cleanup. We were kind of rained out last time, but on Saturday morning, we're all going to get together and do it. And I have a few thank yous. I want to thank the HBA, Ben Nicholls. It's been a pleasure working with you on this, planning it, getting together and making things happen. Sam from the Heat Bar and Kitchen, Cecilia, also our co-sponsors, the Hillcrest History Guild, they're here tonight, and UCSD. Everybody's come together and is making this happen, and I'm looking forward to a great event on Saturday morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Anyone else for public comment? We do have a couple of guest speakers, but I want to make sure that we get all the 2-minute public comment out of the way, and that looks like that we have done that. So I'm going to move on, and we're going to introduce Morton with the San Diego Human Dignity Foundation.
My friends call me Ian.
Okay, Ian it is.
And I'll go ahead and by being kind of business card and kind of just a brief outline of what I'm talking about. I wanted to address the board regarding a fundraiser that we are hoping to have on August 27th of this year called Bar AIDS. Bar AIDS is a fundraiser which engages neighborhood bars and coffee houses as well as other businesses to support ending HIV/AIDS through donating 25% or more of the day's bill to treatment and prevention services in a defined area. What? You've heard of this before. It's called Dining Out for Life. Well, it's not. Bar AIDS is actually a parallel effort that goes along with Dining Out for Life. It was created by Edge Alliance in Chicago, Illinois, specifically because in any given city that has a Dining Out for Life contract, it goes usually to one agency, and that agency usually does wonderful services. This specific national event, which is a little smaller in scale, would actually benefit the HIV Funding Collaborative of San Diego. We are held currently at the San Diego Human Dignity Foundation, and what we do is we actually provide grants to a lot of smaller HIV organizations and services, especially ones that reach out to more marginalized communities, not necessarily in central San Diego, but all over the county. And within central San Diego, individuals who maybe aren't getting the first tier services provided to them. What we'd like to do is just kind of ask the Hillcrest Business Association to be on board with this, to maybe work with us to find creative ways in which we can partner. One of the nice things about this, as similar to Dining Out for Life, there really aren't a whole lot of overhead costs. It really is more about participation with local bars and businesses, finding volunteer ambassadors, social media campaigns, and things like that. So we're really not asking for money. Certainly, if there is a way that any of the partners of or the membership of the Hillcrest Business Association would like to do something like giveaways or things like that, that would be great. But we'd really just love to have your assistance in helping to market the event, helping us reach out to your partners, to your membership, maybe doing something like having Brett and Tammy go by Heat Bar and have their hot bartender do a drink, film it, do a little 30-second thing that we can put on YouTube, showing that we have your interest and your support for this. And that's pretty much it. I gave a little bit of a description of what exactly the HIV Funding Collaborative does. It's been around since 1990. It's been held at a couple different nonprofits and foundations, and it's now at the San Diego Human Dignity Foundation. And one of the reasons this is important for San Diego, as a grant writer, one of the things that I have learned is that California funds do not usually trickle down to San Diego. Things like the Elton John Foundation, the Magic Johnson Foundation, they have grant opportunities for Los Angeles and San Francisco, and they just kind of assume that we will somehow benefit from their services. So we really need to do our own thing here in San Diego, and this is a way to do it. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
So you said it's August 29th?
Or August 27th.
August 27th. Dine Out is in April, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so are you in communications with those folks? Are they aware that you're doing this?
We've talked to, Dolores and John, our executive director, talk pretty regularly.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely something I'd support, albeit I would probably wait for promotions on mine until post Dine Out, just so that there's not any confusion.
And that's what we're planning on doing as well. We just really want to start engaging partners.
Yeah.
But no, we will not make an announcement about this until after Dining Out for Life. We don't want to compete with our
Okay. So here's what I'd like to do. Thanks for bringing this in. Is we have a marketing committee that meets, and I'd like to have you engage them so that they can sit down with you and coordinate getting this onto the board for an agenda item. Okay. But I definitely think it's something to give them mind.
Are you just doing it in Hillcrest, or are you doing the gas lamp also?
We'll be reaching out to the Gas Lamp and most likely North Park, University Heights. This first year, because it is this is launching it this year, we probably want to keep it to about 20 locations. And when we have success and it becomes larger, we can go a little bit further in the community. But I'll probably be the person driving around, making sure everything's going all right. And I figure 20 bars and coffee houses, because we do want to have sober options as well, is about what I can handle.
Okay. Great. Wonderful. Thanks, Ian. All right, and then the fabulous Elizabeth Hannon.
Oh, thanks.
Thought I'd throw that in and give you a little boost.
Thanks, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth. I'm with the Uptown Community Parking District. I'm just going to spread these out because I'm recycling them a bit. And I think they came last month, but it just wasn't on the agenda, so I wanted to get a few minutes extra with the board to talk a little bit about what the parking district's doing and to reach out for ideas. Even if you have those around, somebody else need one. Some people hear this every other day that are in the audience, so. So I wanted you to be aware of a couple of things. First of all, the parking district is working on what we're calling a comprehensive parking management plan. We're doing this in collaboration with Sandag. Sandag's creating a GIS map of all of our current conditions. So here in Hillcrest, we'll be able to see more easily by looking at a map online and having that out for everyone to see where meters are located, where 2-hour time limited signs are located, where blue curbs are located, yellow, white, green, things of that nature. And then we will take the Sandag Bike Project and kind of drop that into the map so that we can see what parking changes are going to happen as a result of the bike path. As we know here in Hillcrest, the bike path is going to be potentially on University as well as on 4th and 5th. And we have a large number of our parking spaces being repurposed for the bike path. So we'll work with Sandag and the HBA and the HTC, the Hillcrest Town Council, to try to alleviate some of those parking losses to find other solutions. So that's being developed now. We'll come back to you probably in the summer with a look at what that comprehensive plan will look like, starting with current conditions. We just don't know what all we have out there. In Hillcrest and sometimes in Bankers Hill is another one of our neighborhoods. It's kind of random as to where parking meters might be located and where they're not. So I wanted to work with the business community here in Hillcrest as well as the residents to take a look at, where are some things that maybe you're noticing that are current conditions that aren't being used. So is there a yellow zone in front of your business that perhaps the old tenant used to use for commercial loading and unloading? We can now change those to be shared use, which means that commercial and passenger drop-off can happen in those same spaces. There's a new white curb space in front of, it's now Lava Sushi, I think. Did they change again? Cato and then Lava, right? Yeah, over by you guys, right?
Yeah.
That's a shared use white curb, so it's passenger loading during the day. It has meters there, but then at night they're going to have valet service there. So as you walk the neighborhood, do business in the neighborhood, things like that, take a look at what how curbs are being used, and just kind of give us an idea of perhaps how we could change those. I know I heard from a resident earlier today on Pennsylvania and 4th. There are 7 handicap spaces that are never utilized. So at some point, perhaps there was a nursing facility there in the past, or land use change, and so we're going to look to rectify that a little bit. What's that?
There's an Alzheimer's Center. Alzheimer's senior daycare.
Yeah, so the spaces aren't being used, so we are going to work with that land use to see if we want to switch them.
They have a
parking lot.
They have a requirement for per capita how many spaces they have to have. So even if they're not being utilized, they have to be there.
We can figure that out.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
we'll
typical.
see, that's what I have this for.
Work it out.
The other thing is that we are in our budgeting process, guys, and so on the sheet, I'm repurposing these. It says February 27th. It's actually for Hillcrest March 25th. If you have ideas, these are the ways in which our funds could potentially be spent. On March 26th, we'll meet with the Hillcrest Parking Committee to take a look at how our funds are being allocated for the next year. Here in Hillcrest, we have about $3.5 million to spend. We do have permission from the city, if you're following along, in how the funds are held in reserve. We can now spread that out over 3 or 5 years. And so the potential, I know that you're always talking about a parking facility here. Right now, the Hillcrest Parking District Committee has about $800,000 earmarked for that, so we can buy a postage stamp here. But your influence can help us kind of grow those funds and perhaps find the location that we could eventually look for a structure here.
$6 million in accounts, just, isn't that right? What was
So it goes neighborhood by neighborhood.
Okay.
So there's 4 neighborhoods, and so Hillcrest, we're about 3.5.
Got it.
Bankers Hill's about 2.5. And then Mission Hills and IRR, or 5 Points, or International Restaurant Row, they have about 330 each.
Got it. Today we spotted a couple of people invest on, I want to say 4th or 3rd Avenue, counting cars as they were parking and utilizing spaces. Just the cars that were pulling into spaces.
And where were you?
Meters, in front of Integrity Salon. Because I was there and we noticed it, and he said they've been doing that all day. So I don't know if that has something to do with.
It wasn't my crew. I do have a crew counting in Bankers Hill, and we're going to be counting in Hillcrest some occupancy. Because part of that comprehensive management plan I was speaking of, not only will we have current condition, we'll also give some demand levels. So is this particular block a low demand parking area, medium, or high?
Sure.
But that wasn't my crew.
It's interesting.
Unless
We
they
were there.
snuck out.
It was very specific, like it was a car would park in, so it's a very boring job. But
Could be turnover too, but I don't know.
Sounds like that's yeah. Okay, very good.
So you have my email. Any other ideas? I'd be happy to chat with you about it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, just a couple items on my agenda. I want to thank everyone for coming out and supporting Hillcrest that day. We had a fun turnout. Everything went swimmingly well. Our team had no glitches, ticketing, all of that was great this year. So kudos to you, Marissa and Megan and Ben on a well-run event. It was great. We did make money, although we're not prepared to give those numbers out yet. We're still finalizing some details on that. So once we have that, I'll be able to bring that back for a report, all right? Also, as Luke said, this weekend, the Great Hillcrest Spring Cleaning is on Saturday at 8 a.m., partnering with the HTC, UCSD Medical Center, Hillcrest Clean Team, and Hillcrest History Guild.
We also want to thank Crest Cafe, Lips, Diversionary Theater, the Hillcrest Brewing Company, and Ace Hardware for donating to the event. Sam, are you still doing something from your space?
We are actually making fresh, yes, we're gonna do coffee and we're doing pastries.
Okay.
For everybody that comes in that location.
That is.
So
Yeah,
we're gonna
so it's
feed
one of
them
those locations.
before they get around.
Wonderful. I like it. So if anyone in the audience would like to join us and help us, that would be fabulous. You can see the great work that our people do. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to the man in charge, Nicholls.
So I take this opportunity to talk about things that we're doing in the office that are not on the agenda. I want to report that staff have been working to produce Hillcrest Movie Night in the Egyptian Quarter. It's on March 20th, Park Boulevard over at the parking lot right next to Sam's place. There will be an outdoor movie, there will be food trucks, there will be arts and crafts. This will be the third one that we've produced, and the movie is The Wizard of Oz. So if people like that, then you should get dressed up and come out. We're going to do prizes for the best costume. And then this weekend at the Farmers Market, we're going to be doing a promotional event to promote it. So I recently conducted and completed staff reviews for the staff in the office. Megan's not here tonight because she's actually joining many of our bid colleagues in Santa Monica at the Urban Forum that the International Downtown Association Conference runs. So she'll have a report on that, I'm sure. Our annual audit has been completed and is on our website. The annual report has been mailed to all our members. I did want to just point out a few things related to the annual report, the annual audit, I should say. This is completed by West Roadie and Roberts. They are an independent auditor. It's required as part of our contract with the city. In the audit, they say that in their opinion, the financial statements of the HBA have been presented fairly and are accurate in all material aspects. And the financial position of the Hillcrest Business Improvement Association as of June 30th, 2014 is in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, which is a nice little way of saying that they didn't find any problems with our numbers. I did want to point out a few things. So this is as of the end of fiscal year 2014, so the end of June 2014. Our revenues, pretty much all our revenue areas have increased over 2013. One example is the Hillcrest Farmers Market. In 2013, revenue was $200,371, and this past year, it was $228,500. All our revenue centers pretty much are up from the previous year, except for our government contracts. So the Maintenance Assessment District and the Business Improvement District are both down. But our other revenues are up. And then for the bottom of the year, last year, 2013, our revenues were $875,000, $627. This year, the revenues were $974,000 and change. So that's a net increase of $100,000 on the revenue side. So that's a huge growth in revenue for the organization, and I think that I wasn't here for that period, so I can't really take credit for it. So it must have been you folks. So I really think that that's a great testament to the success of the HBA.
So there was some concern about the delays in the mailings. Do you want to address that and just explain what led to that?
So if you read the requirements of our city contract, it says that the annual report must be delivered to the city by November 30th, and the annual report must be delivered to the membership. And so we delivered the annual report to the city by November 30th, and we're mailing it to the membership. Typically, those two things happen hand in hand. They don't have to, but typically they do. The reason why it was delayed was because the audit was delayed because a number of folks in the neighborhood sent letters to our auditor raising questions. The questions were baseless, and so it was delayed, but there was no reason for it to be delayed. Very good. All right. But the audit is available on our website, and annual report is there.
Okey-dokey.
That is my staff report.
Very good. Moving on to our consent agenda, approval of minutes for January 2015 and approval of financials for December 2014. Do I have any questions, a motion?
Seems like there's a question.
No, we don't entertain questions. Oh, we can do public comment though. We just don't do questions. We can do public comment.
Right, public comment was that Mr. Nicholls replied to me yesterday that he was going to make the proposed correction to the minutes for the public comment from the last meeting, because the public comment was truncated and just said, "I thank the HBA," which was not true. As you saw from one of the email exchanges, I was informing you of a material breach of the contract, which, regardless of whether you agree with it or not, is what in fact happened during that public comment and needs to be in the public comment for that meeting.
Some clarity on that.
Yeah, you can pull those and we can take those minutes next month.
I'm fine with that. Any objections to that? Okay, we'll go ahead and pull those minutes and carry them over to next month. Any concerns over financials? No? I need a motion.
I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes for January 2000. Oh, financials, I'm sorry.
Minutes are pulled.
For December 2014.
Second.
All right. No further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstention? Okay, very good. All right. So we, Eddie Reynoso is no longer with Moe's Universe and resigned from the Hillcrest Business Association. So we had to appoint a new, or we have to appoint a new secretary, and our executive committee has nominated Tammy to take over in that role. Just looking for a motion.
I'd like to move that we place Tammy in that empty spot.
Okay, I'll second that. All right, easy enough. Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor? You can vote no, you can abstain, you can do whatever you want. We got enough folks here. Okay, opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, Tammy, for stepping up into that role. Okay, next item, discussion concerning initiative to address homeless issues in Hillcrest. Benjamin Nicholls.
So I'll give a staff report. Over the last several months, we have had many reports in the office from our business members relating to persistent and growing homeless issues in the neighborhood. We have had a number of meetings with business people and property owners on the issue and have a lot of discussions about ways to address the homeless issues, I guess. Our current strategy to engage the homeless isn't very sophisticated. We don't do much. We are not homeless social service providers, and we're not the police department. But it is a persistent issue. Pretty much all we do right now to engage with the homeless folks is in the core of the neighborhood. We have a security team that builds relationships with homeless folks in order to cajole them to relocate outside the business district, or at least that part of the business district. This approach only works for the time that the security patrols are on duty, which is 6 hours a day. And there's some evidence that that approach actually exacerbates issues at the east end of town, because the homeless people relocate outside the core of the neighborhood and then just end up right out in front of your spot. So we had a lot of conversations about a broader approach. The Downtown Partnership does have a broader approach, and there's some interest to look at their model. They do have security patrols, but they also have engagement teams that actively engage the homeless and to try to either provide them the services that they need or provide them services like if they need to be relocated to the downtown shelter or other places that can happen. And so it's a much more, I guess, a carrot-based strategy to provide services to the homeless people to try to solve some of their issues rather than just sort of bullying them to get out of the neighborhood. We were recently approached by Todd Gloria's office. He was interested in creating a similar pilot program for Hillcrest as they had downtown. The program would provide a part-time team to engage the homeless in Hillcrest. It would essentially be like the Hillcrest version of the HOT team. The HOT team it's like a police engagement team. It doesn't spend a lot of time in Hillcrest because they get pulled all over the place, but this would create a dedicated engagement team for our members. The program would be run by the Alpha Project. They are based in the neighborhood, they're a member. They run the homeless shelter downtown and a large variety of programs for the homeless. They really are one of the few groups in the city that have the capacity to provide the elements that the homeless people need. One item that I stressed that our members would need or would be interested in is to have a hotline that they could call if we participated in a program like that. Another reason why I'm enthusiastic about the program is that it would showcase the benefits of maybe a permanent solution that could be funded through an expansion of the maintenance assessment district on the east end. We don't have any funding to even hire security on the east end of the neighborhood, but this option might create an argument for increasing the size of the MAD. The program proposal was in your board packets, and there was a budget in there. The program that is being proposed is about $48,000 for the program. It's a part-time team, so I believe it's two outreach specialists part-time with all the equipment. Councilman Gloria is proposing that he would fund $20,000 of that, and the Business Improvement District would contribute the balance, which would be about $28,000. Bradley's here from the Alpha Project.
Brandon.
Brandon?
Yes.
I asked you that like 4 times, I'm sorry about
No
that.
problem.
It says Amy on our list. So
It says Amy.
That's my...
I don't know if anybody printed out the budget and the proposal, but it was in your packet. But anyway.
Before we go there, wanted to see if there's any public comment before we hear from Andy.
Can I ask a question of the other project?
Okay.
Yes.
Can you really affect the people that have, homeless people that have been in our zip code for, I mean, as long as I've lived in the Hillcrest and Uptown, there are people I know by their first name. Can you really, have you had success in that way?
Yeah, we have. A lot of them stay because of the parks, because the Balboa Park comes up 6th Avenue. So they have a real area that they could hang out in, but they do go down to the lower city to get services. We have the Neil Good Day Center, which is on 17th, and that's where they're able to take showers, get their mail, also use computers so they could try to get jobs and different information. During the time that we did do outreach, we placed 20 people in our winter shelter and various programs. We talked to over 364 people, 290 men, 74 women, and this was from February to June of 2014 last year. And then we also right now are doing a program called the VI SPDAT to see if the people qualify for housing, which they would get 30% of their rent paid for 6 months if they qualify due to a disabling condition that they have to have documentation on.
Could you just summarize the program so that maybe we answer some of the questions?
So basically we go out 5 days a week for 4 hours a day. We provide outreach services to get stats. We give water, food, hygiene, supplies, blankets, clothing, housing, referrals, medical, mental referrals also. And we do that from all the way from 6th Avenue. We cover Washington Street to Park Avenue, Park Boulevard, I mean. And then we also go from 6th Avenue all the way to Goldfinch. So we cover that whole area, all the way from Lower Washington, all the way up to Park. And we cover Balboa Park, we do the McDonald's parking lot, we do Trader Joe's. We also do over by like Goldfinch, that back park.
So this program would be exclusive to Hillcrest though, right?
Yes, it'd be totally all Hillcrest.
So not Goldfront?
Well, that goes into Mission Hills, but yeah.
Because we would want them to kick in.
Okay, of course. But basically we cover that whole, sector. And we get out, we speak to the people. We're very compassionate. We don't use force or anything like that. If we get denied, I usually give them my business card because I'm the outreach supervisor. So I deal with them directly. I call, they could call my phone, like how you're saying you wanted a hotline. My phone's always on for them.
So business people could call you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I keep my phone on 24 hours.
So in this budget that they're proposing, which is $48,000
Annually, I'm assuming.
annually, is that right?
It's a one-time annual service.
Yeah.
So annually implies that it will keep going, but
And then
it's 1 year.
our outreach team is me, and we have 3 other people on my team, 2 women and 2 guys.
Okay, and of that time, when you said there's 5 hours or 4 hours, 5 days a week, is that concentrated in our neighborhood for this
Yes,
budget? Okay.
for the whole 4 hours. We could either do morning or afternoon, or we could split it up 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon.
Got it. So give you a scenario here. Our friends over at Medical Age Management, they had a homeless person that was laying in front of their business door today that was drunker than a skunk. So is that something where they could call you and you send someone over, they give them
we'll come over. We could come over there with them. We could take them to the VA, which is Volunteers of America.
Okay.
Which they take care of substance abuse.
Okay.
They could. It's kind of like the drunk tank, but you don't have to, go
and
to
if
jail
they're
or
belligerent, you then deal with SDPD, I assume?
Yeah, I can call the hot team or the PERT team and make sure that they get taken care of. We also have 2 other vans that are, for disabled people. Say if they have a wheelchair or if they need some other, assistance. We have those vehicles on at any time to help. We also have clothing. Like I said, if they need a change of clothes, we can go back to our center. And then we also have the PATH Building Housing Connections, which is right down the street on 6th and A.
Sure.
Deciding if they want to come into a facility. We also have, like I said, the winter shelter, and that's just, for part-time until we do find a housing resource for the people.
So there are a handful that, since as long as I've been here, there's a gentleman in a wheelchair, for instance. He doesn't bug anybody. He's got a splint on his leg, probably. Right? So what's your mindset with those folks? They clearly don't want to go into a program, and I know that's the whole idea for this, but how do you deal with that?
Well, we reach out to them, like I said, some are veterans, so then we go through the VCS and try to get them a case manager that could stay with them or at least contact them on a daily basis. I do reporting, so I would be able to report to the board on every person that I talk to, what services that we render to them. Also, a timeline of what steps they've taken to end their homelessness.
So we're gonna have some board discussion. Give me just a second. Before I do that, though, we just want to give anyone in this, if there's public comment, an opportunity
The Hillcrest Town Council has been working on this issue from the beginning, and we've even partnered with the HBA for a time to try to find alternatives, and there never really were any. None of them were good. The only thing we finally came up with was getting them to relocate. So your program actually sounds like there may be some hope and that we may be able to help people get off the street and decrease the amount of homeless. Hillcrest is very popular because we're a live and let live neighborhood.
Sure.
And we're also very generous. So I think that's why we have high numbers of homeless up here. And we're just up the hill.
Yes.
So anything that you can do would be greatly appreciated by the residents group. And I wondered if you would speak to the residents group at some point regarding your ongoing process.
Yes, sir. I would have no problem with that. And then also we have different providers, through churches that offer different services, like getting them California IDs for free. And then, like I said, we work with the veterans so that they can get, taken care of.
Okay, very good, Brandon. I'll speak to you afterwards.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's open the floor to discussion, questions.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So the program is for a certain period of time, for 1 year, but he was mentioning that it's for 4 hours a day.
4 hours, 5 days.
Okay, but you had said that you'd be on call too. I'm just curious, like, how would it play out if it's something like 9 o'clock at night?
Well, our center stays open 24 hours, our winter shelter, so I could dispatch somebody to assist somebody
So
at that time.
even if it's outside the scope of your 4 hours, I see where you're getting at here, you still have the flexibility to send someone out.
We would make it available too, because like I said, we're contracted, so whatever necessities we need to take to alleviate the problem.
But those
we
kind
would
of
do
calls
that.
could happen on a daily basis.
True.
And that's within this $48,000 contract?
Yes, it would have to be.
Above and beyond your 4 hours a day?
I mean, it would have to be if we're dedicating ourselves to you guys.
Thank you.
So what does it look like when you guys are patrolling those 4 hours, for instance? Like, what's the ideal window, and what is it you guys are doing, and how far past Washington do you guys go? Like, I'm on 4th in Washington, so technically I'm past Washington because my parking lot's on the other side.
Right.
And I got tons of transients that sleep behind my parking lot.
Well, we've had
defecating, whatever.
like designated spots because of they're considered hot spots. Like I said, the Trader Joe's parking lot because of the recycling facility back here. So they have certain areas that we know. I mean, I used to live in North Park, so I kind of know the scope of this area pretty well. But like in the mornings, a lot of people are not really out, so that's why we try to split it like 2 hours here, 2 hours there, because we start at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm usually off about 4:30 in the afternoon. So I try to usually get out here about, say, 9 to 11, a little bit before lunch. And then I usually come back after my lunch from about 1 to 3.
I just find that they're not there because I'm there at 8:30, so they're not there after 8:30, so you'll never see homeless people by my bank. But I'm close to the hospital. I'm behind the wall, and it kind of blocks the wind, and I get it.
So we would have to, just sit down with you guys, with the board, and just dedicate ourselves to the hot spots that are known or.
Imagine that when you call in an issue, they're going to see a pattern.
Yeah. Well, I've been calling the San Diego helpline, so I didn't know there's a special line to call.
Oh, like the 211? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, it's on my phone. It's a non-emergency line, and then there's a special team that will come out.
And then
there was some lady literally setting up a studio right in front of my front door. Just a security issue.
And the same thing, I could call, SDPD, and they could issue tickets for loitering, which they have to, answer. And we also do the Port of San Diego. So we've had a rapid decline of people hanging out there in those parks.
So you do this program at the port?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
So actually, so from what I understood, you guys are just trying to help them, but they're not being removed from wherever they are. So if they're actually
well, it just depends if they want to.
In Balboa Park, you're just gonna help them craft, but they're not being removed.
Well, they're not being removed unless they want to be removed, because we physically don't, touch anybody unless they're willing to commit to our program, which is giving them a facility to stay, shower, and better themselves and get the different providers and service help that they need. Because some is,
you're not gonna remove 100% of the homeless element, and the ones that are peaceful, that don't bother anybody. That's why I brought up the gentleman in the wheelchair as an example. Is that if they are impacting your business and bothering your customers and being belligerent and all those different things, then they would be the contact to help you get the resources to deal with it on a legal basis.
Yeah, and like I said, we track them by we give them our Neil Good Day Center. We give them a card. It's a service point card, and you guys could have access through the Regional Task Force on the Homeless. They give courses or the availability to see these people and see what services that have been rendered to them.
Right.
So then you constantly know, like, okay, this guy's just staying here long time, and we need to go further, with the authorities or, something like that to get them removed.
So what I like just my take on this is what I like about this is that there's a compassionate approach first. that we're actually trying to help people find the resources that they need. And I think that that's, like, we can continue to try to push different areas, but all they do is they come back or they find places to be. So that effort's being made. That being said, knowing that there's also the ability to have them removed if they are impeding our businesses, if they're causing problems, that type of thing. You know, it'd be cutting into absolutely. And, you know, and it's a sad aspect of today's life is that homeless folks are going to be there.
Yeah, it's an ongoing problem. It's never gonna.
Some want to be there. You know, some just found themselves in a hardship.
And then there's certain programs too, like Work Your Way Home, that they could, you know, work at a church, do some volunteer hours, and then they'll get them a bus ticket, just as long as there's other family member on the other end.
And so the feedback we got, because you're working on this, has this been implemented downtown?
Yes.
They started
Yes.
doing this? So we were talking about this.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Very familiar with the downtown partnership.
Yeah.
So where the impact's been is that they're not seeing as much of a concentration.
Correct.
So that's where they're not just staying in one area and hanging out anymore, because there is this constant outreach to them. And so
And it's working. I mean, we're seeing the numbers decline, and we're active in East Village, my company, and we're very involved in downtown partnership and the outreach that's gone on, and we've helped fund some of the homeless organizations and some of the seed money. And we've seen that this approach, rather than chasing them around with a security guard, is much more effective, because eventually they'll start talking to you and you can build a dossier on them and understand what they really need, what services they need to get off the street.
Yeah, and I've worked with Kelly Knight, you know, a lot, so she knows how I am, and I'm really dedicated to, you know, taking care of these people, because I get to see them every day, you know, living downtown, so I take real pride in it.
Can we vote on this now, or do we have to?
It's an action item, so you can vote on
I
it.
move that we approve the $28,000 and implement the plan.
Okay,
I second.
All right, so
Let me just point out a couple things before you vote. I do want to say, this is unbudgeted item. The 28,000 would come from our reserve account. We have had a mandate, or I have had a mandate from the board over the many years to spend down our reserve and deploy that money to help our neighborhood. I do think that if we go forward with this project, I would love to have it work hand in hand with the expansion of the maintenance assessment district. And use this as a case study to show property owners and businesses that there can be an effect if they put in more resources, because
absolutely.
I would like to see a bigger picture.
I think it'd help us with our sales, so to speak, with the MAD too, if we can show some results.
Yeah.
And we can say, look, we took the chance,
Right.
we started to implement something, you know, it'd be a much
So
better sell for
help
our
us continue this
residents.
program
Yeah.
by expanding that.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
Yeah, we already seconded.
There was already been a second.
All right, sounds like we love it, so.
So folks know, if you approve this, the next step would be for me to sit down with the Alpha Project. We'd come up with a contract, service contract, and it would spell out those details.
You're gonna have a very busy cell phone.
It's okay. I mean, that's
the number's
what-
gonna be hung in every storefront, let me tell you.
Like I said, I appreciate it, and it's a pleasure, and I will do, you know, the best of my ability to take care of the homeless problem for you guys.
Yeah, we're doing it. All right, thank you, Andy. All right, all of those in favor?
Brendan.
And then here's some documentation for you guys.
Thank you.
See the reports.
Obviously,
And
this
I
is
would,
pending that.
and I would report to you guys on a
You guys
weekly
vote already?
basis and also on
All
a
right.
monthly basis.
Anyone opposed?
Awesome.
Any abstentions? Done. Thank you so much, Andy.
I'd like to request though.
Yeah.
Huh?
Is that we just have that as a standing item on the agenda every board meeting?
Say that again, sorry.
One thing that I'd like to add as an ongoing item on the agenda is a monthly report.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Can we do that in the beautification committee meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, so instead of having to come here, we can just do a report to beautification, and then if there's an issue that needs to be brought forward. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and it would be broken down into like account, demographics, and the services rendered.
Okay.
So you guys would get 3 reports.
How quickly will this go file?
Well, we'd have to work out the contract, and so
What are we talking about, weeks or?
Yeah, we're talking about weeks. Hopefully we can get it done.
Yeah, we're ready to roll now, whenever you guys are.
Todd got that check ready?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she said,
We're good. We've allocated the funds.
You can be very happy with this outcome, right?
I am. Thank you guys. No, we really appreciate it. My office appreciates it.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so next item on our agenda is discussion and approval of contract repair to our median lights. Ben Nicholls, staff report.
Yeah, back in 2010, we installed 51 median lights in the medians on University between Park and 10th. Nope, 10th and Normal. 10th and Normal. They're the color-changing lights. Some folks who were on the board back then will remember. They sort of create a background ambiance to that part of town at night. They also are programmed to have certain color displays based on the season. For example, during Pride, they go rainbow colors. They have a cycle that is rainbow colors. And holiday season, they're red and green. And then they also recognize particular neighborhood activities. So over the last year, about 20 of the lights have failed, broken, or stolen. It's kind of odd because you can't use the lights without the specific computer attached to the lights, but I guess people thought they could take them and use them.
Some shady nightclub somewhere.
Some nightclubs, yeah. They actually are coded to the specific computer.
I know, right?
So,
I used
the
video wall.
This is one of the few projects that is funded in part by the city, the Maintenance Assessment District at that end of town, the one that we're talking about expanding. They actually pay for the power on this project. I've included in your packet a contract to replace the lights and reprogram them. It costs about $5,500 for this work. We would update the program to make sure that the program lights fit with the right month, so Christmas was the right time. And then we would add in a number of projects, I believe. The Trevor project, they like to have the lights go purple at their event, and they always had asked me for that. So the contract's in your packet. Now, I will also say, this is the company that originally installed the lights.
You recall when they went through, yeah.
Is that a lot of money, you think, or is it worth trying to get someone else to look at it, or should we just suck it up and pay it?
For 20 lights, I don't know, it seems reasonable.
So let me do this before we, just to follow our format, before we go into board discussion, is there any public comment on the lighting? Please.
Cool, a question, can I ask you a question?
Can't do questions, but you can make a comment and then we can get back.
I would like to see some sort of features, additional security features added to prevent tampering, if that's possible.
High regard for $100,000.
I'm sorry, I came in mid-conversation.
So
I apologize.
we're discussing replacing the lights
Yeah,
in the median at a cost of $5,500. There's about 20 lights.
5,500?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
275.
I heard more zeros on that, sorry.
$55 million.
I thought it was 55,000. I was going to say, no, that's about what they cost.
That wouldn't have made it to this table, trust me.
Okay.
Okay, so, board discussion.
If you think it's reasonable,
It is.
then I move that we approve it and get them fixed.
Done. And we got a second. All right, do we have any additional discussion?
Yes.
Yes, please.
I saw the actual contract and I had their actual proposal, and I had some clarifications that I wanted made before we executed the contract.
Do you want to make those notes now, or?
So let me just respond. I can say the reason why there were inconsistencies in the original proposal because he was using a template. Like, for example, it said we will provide the lighting company will provide the lights, and then later on it said the lighting company won't provide the lights. And so that's why I put it in our contract format, and I took out those inconsistencies.
So that's what you put forward for us to vote on, that was the revised.
The revised one, and so it does have the corrections that you were concerned about.
And then the breakdown because he's got the 3 years, so we know what each year is going to cost, and then what the material and the labor is. Those were all of mine.
The years,
Because he lumped everything together as one cost, and so we don't know, he's got 3 years of site visits, of no more than 2 visits per year.
Right.
So we,
You want those itemized?
yes, they should be, because they're future years.
Okay,
We're paying for it in the current year.
gotcha.
It would be a prepayment.
So-
Yes, okay.
So, but does it, so the contract specifies it's for 3 years, 2 visits per year, is that correct?
Exactly right.
Right.
And you want it to specify
What those annual inspections are, because it was all lumped together.
okay.
We should also break out labor and materials and how sales taxes are handled.
Okay.
So can I change, provided the amount doesn't go up, but he itemizes it?
I just want to see the itemization. I'm okay with the amount.
Okay.
I just want to see the itemization.
All right, well, let me add a bullet point in this attachment A that has the amount, and then I'll add a bullet point that itemizes what the amount covers.
And I modify my motion
There you go, you're good at this.
to include the current modifications that
I will say, Tammy, I fully expect some of the items, like the time it takes him to reprogram, for him to charge us nothing for.
That's fine.
Just to document that
It
it's a
just-
donation.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. It should be still documented if it's in kind.
I think that's a good suggestion.
Because that way, when we're
Put
audited,
the right person
we
in this
know
role.
what his in-kind donation was and what those hours were.
Good.
You're going to be a great secretary.
All right,
All right, so with that, I'm gonna call the vote. All those in favor? Got it. All right, opposed? Any abstentions? Very good. All right, moving on. Discussion and approval of partnership relating to Hillcrest Craft Beer Crawl. Miss Staff report.
So the Hillcrest Brewing Company will be organizing the first LGBT Hillcrest Craft Beer Crawl. It will be on Saturday, May 9th from 3 to 6 p.m. The walking tour will feature 12 Hillcrest restaurants and bring about 300 visitors to the event. Each restaurant will be paired with a local San Diego brewery to provide samplings to ticket purchasers. The HBC is looking for the Hillcrest Business Association to help with business solicitations, day of event support, marketing, and a letter of support. A portion of the proceeds will be set aside in a separate bank account to fundraise for the Pride Plaza. In addition to that, ticket sales will also cover production costs, trolley rental, and ticketing services. So the remaining revenue will go towards the fundraising of Pride Plaza.
And what are they looking for us for? Marketing.
I'm gonna reread it.
No.
Okay, sorry, I read it.
I wasn't.
I heard that.
Business solicitation, so reaching out to our restaurants to see if they would like to participate. Day of event support, so just a couple of staff members to help out with registration.
Okay.
Marketing and promotions, and a letter of support.
Did they give you any idea what they think they're gonna be able to raise?
Yeah, well, how much we getting from it?
Yeah. $5,500.
I'm not sure what the revenue is gonna be. I know the tickets cost.
How much are the tickets?
300 people, and how much?
I think the tickets are, I wanna say, there's gonna be two price points. I think one's $30 and then one's more expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we don't have to go into the meat and potatoes right now. Is there any other discussion on it? Do we have a motion? Any public comment? That's exactly right, Ben. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Are we gonna do anything with shuttles?
Oh, yes, sorry. So yeah, that was included in I read what the finances are gonna go to first before the proceeds. So there is gonna be a trolley rental, that will be transporting everyone around. This one.
And they're paying for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've already put in an order.
They're talking about renting the Hillcrest shuttle.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how we can vote on it if we don't know what we're making yet, right?
But whatever we make, it's gonna go towards the Pride Plaza, so
This is
for
mainly
us,
a
it's gonna be a one, we don't spend
Yeah,
any
but,
money.
well, we do, we spend staff resources.
Well,
They could be doing something else.
Yeah.
It's money.
Thank
you.
here we're up $100,000.
Nice.
We're doing good with our events.
Well, we're gonna keep working on it. Working on finding food.
No, but I mean, if we're gonna put ourselves out for this, you know, what's the return? It's not our project.
But it's our neighborhood.
Yeah, but, you know,
So what is due to the staff hours for 2 hours? I mean, that's.
Well, it's really, the staff time is less on the day of the event. It's more,
The time.
the time for promotions and marketing, things like that. To your concern, Pete, I do think that in this time frame we have the capacity. If this was in the middle of summer, then that staff capacity might be more of an issue. But the way that I look at it, that's not an issue for this event.
And we're not carrying a heavy load. Just a reminder, a good example was the high heel race. We received a lot of funds from that, so I think, when we have these opportunities for community groups to come forward and say, we want to do this, we just need a little bit of resources from you.
And how long of a time are we looking at, you guys? I mean, it's not much, it's a couple emails, 3 to 6 hours.
Oh, you mean promotion?
Yeah, for promotion.
Yeah, just social media.
Yeah, I mean, so that's not much time.
It's good.
well, but don't you think we should know how much we're getting?
Well, you can't.
Well, they could, it's arbitrary.
I think we're
getting like a minimum $5,000.
Could I make
Yeah, go ahead.
Could I make a suggestion for the future?
Sure.
So anytime we have a presentation where another organization or group is looking to seek our approval, perhaps they can have a proposal that indicates what staff time is and what that allocation of resources is, how it is monetarily assigned, and then what their projected revenue is based upon ticket sales. And so when they say that, we'll know that we're going to get X, because they're already gonna have their budget.
Probably I would have been prudent for Lucas to come as well. She's coordinating my sets.
So we can delay, we don't need to approve this today. We can approve it next month.
And they give us a firm amount of what they're
So
gonna
they
do.
come back with a budget
Great.
and maybe flesh it out at market.
And what their expectation is for staff time. Because I think that's important, just
So key
generally.
inverse, it's pretty easy to calculate. If you're anticipating 300 people, tickets,
Yeah.
your costs
They
associated
must have a
with it.
budget.
Yeah, they have to have a budget. And it really just breaks down into what staff time they want to have allocated as that resource.
Good. We're running long, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that then, and we'll move it to next month, and then you've got your marching orders on that, Marissa. The last item on our agenda, make sure I'm right on that, yep, but number 11, review of the proposed contract language for the bid agreement with the City of San Diego. I'm going to invite Ben to make the staff report on this.
Yeah, this is an information item only. We have a 5-year agreement with the City of San Diego to manage the Business Improvement District. Essentially, the city gathers the assessments for the Business Improvement District, and through contract, we spend the money. The city staff that we work with, Elizabeth Studebaker, who usually comes to these meetings, she and Meredith at the city had asked us for any proposed contract language changes, because they're making a modification to the 5-year agreement. And so I just wanted to let the board know the language that I'm suggesting to them. Obviously, it's up to them what they do. We've got very little clarification about whether the contract applies to monies that we privately raise. Right? So the contract appears, in my reading, to not apply to those monies, but it's not explicit. And so the language that I'm suggesting, and I have it written here if people want to look at it after the meeting, it would go under section 5.7 of the contract, which refers to other funds, and it would read, funds raised by the corporation that are segregated appropriately by commonly acceptable accounting standards and are not derived from any grant or service contract with any municipal body shall not be subject to the provisions of this agreement. So it essentially says any money we raise on our own is not subject to the city's oversight. And then my plan is to meet with the city of San Diego in the next couple of weeks to have this language inserted into our contract. We sort of have been operating in this way, but it's unclear as to whether or not the contract really applies to that money.
So, before we get into more discussion, because I have some comments on it as well, is there any public comment on this item? Please.
I can understand saying that the revenues generated from an event should belong to the HBA to do with what they wish. However, that's put on by staff time, and that staff time is paid by city.
Correct. So there is
kind of an overlap there.
Right, but that's, again, big picture, and I'll speak to that, but thank you for the comment on that. Anyone else? Yeah.
Yes, it's socializing the debt and is privatizing the gains on it. Again, there is no way to discreetly separate out rent is paid. Everything from postage down to the staples is all in together in a pot. As it is, this organization could benefit from having more city oversight, and it's attempting to get it so that it has absolutely none. So that's my comment.
Okay. So I'll speak to this. As you know, we've been dealing with a myriad of PRAs and things that have cost our organization a significant amount of money over the past year, and they've all bared zero fruit. Zero. And we donate our time and our energy and resources to raise these monies to beautify our neighborhood, to pay folks like the Alpha Project to help us with the homeless issues. Perfect example here. This contract is $48,000. And under the current city contract, and if we apply our money to that bid process, we'd have to put that out to bid. But they want to use the Alpha Project for this. So this is a perfect example of where we need the flexibility with the funds that we raise privately through our volunteer efforts to have the discretion to spend those funds as we wish. And there is ways to do those, and we'll be working with the city, and that's why this language is being presented. And
I'll say that there are ways, and if you look at your board packet, you'll see that it's very clear where the bid money goes. Right? So if you look at, in your board packet, if you look at the profit and loss by class, you can see very clearly where all the bid money goes. And you can see very clearly where all the MAD money goes. The idea that every staple in the office is somehow owned in part by the city of San Diego is ludicrous. So
I don't think anyone's arguing with you.
No.
I think we're good.
I think some people are arguing. So I just want to, be clear about, our intention.
Sure.
And there's no, from what I can see, it's very clearly segregated. So it would be very easy to
Correct.
To make that adjustment without having, because there's really not a
Correct. And at the end of the day, this is a contract for the city, and it's at their discretion if they want to do this with us. So we are by no means a government agency. We're not bound by the Brown Act. We agree to abide by it because of our contract with the city. And this is the discussion that we're having with them to help it make it easier for us to do the work that we're doing within our community. And so with that, I'm going to close. There's no action item here, so I'm going to close our meeting and thank you for coming out.